Hey, everybody, John Granato from the bench. Mornings on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5, and that's AJ Hoffman. He's on the Blitz for now. That's afternoons on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Hit subscribe, and you can get all of our content with or without AJ, which will be very shortly. According to the Ringer's Kevin O'Connor, the Rockets are among the 5 most aggressive trade suitors for Damian Lillard. If you're Houston, what? Damian Lillard? First of all, does Damian Lillard want to come here, AJ? And do the Rockets really want Damian Lillard?
I can't imagine that either one of those things, the answer would be yes. I mean, especially, I can't picture a scenario where Dame wants to come here. Coming here would make him would not only make him no closer to a title, it would send him way further from a title. There's no CJ McCollum here. And for the Rockets, bringing him in essentially undoes all the good that you've done by moving on from James Harden. And is Dame more likable than James? Sure. Is he probably more fun to play with for other guys? Sure. But you're still basically just counting on one guy and hoping that you can figure it out around him. That's not the answer. I think the Rockets need a clean rebuild. It seems like they're in position right now to have a clean rebuild. I think bringing in a guy like Dame Lillard at this point isn't the answer.
Well, okay, so let's look at it from the other side. We saw what James Harden did. He filled up the arena quite often.
Sure.
Got him to the playoffs as opposed to being the worst team in the league. Quite frankly, I'd rather have Dame Lillard than James Harden. That's me personally. I think Dame Lillard is just as big a talent. I know James is one of the greatest scorers of all time, blah, 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 blah. I think Dame Lillard is a winner, and Dame Lillard is right there with James Harden as far as great players in the league go. We know what that can do paired with Christian Wood, and does Dame Lillard bring another player here with him? If you can get some cap room, getting rid of John Wall or whatever the case may be, however you can work it out, finagle it, if you get another star player here as opposed to maybe that number 2 pick overall, because you'd have to give that up and plenty more, as opposed to maybe that guy is a good player. We know Dame's a good player. We know Christian Wood's a good player. Now maybe we can win, and we can win right away.
I think that's a nice thought, but I don't think it's really realistic. I think it's very short-sighted to think that you can bring in a superstar and pair him with Christian Wood and suddenly you've got a contender. I don't believe that one bit. I don't think that – I do think Dame's a great player. I don't think Christian Wood is good enough to be the second best player on a title team, and you certainly don't have a guy who can be the third leg of a big three. And I also think, given Dame's where he's at in his career, if that's the way you decide to build instead of drafting a guy, you're shortening your window to 3 years instead of looking to the long-term future. And would it be a good pop? Would it get guys in the building? Sure. But I think the long-term answer for this organization is to rebuild this thing the slow way and turn it back into something good.
That said, 3 years of Dame, Christian Wood might re-up because you're winning, because you've got a great player, because you add another piece, and all of a sudden you could be a really decent team with 3 really good players. If you get the number 2 overall pick, how long is Christian Wood going to be? Because it's going to take a while. And sure. Christian Wood's got 2 years left on this deal. Does he want to be in a long-term deal, or do you want a quick fix? I could certainly see. You know what? While I don't think it's feasible, I don't think it's possible, I don't think Dame would want to come here. I think that the number 2 overall pick is the right way to go. I could certainly see Tillman and Rafael Stone going, hey, and especially Tillman, I want to put some people in the building right away. And they're not coming for the number 2 overall pick and Jay Sean Tate and Kevin Porter Jr. and Christian Wood and John Wall. They're not showing up for that, but they might show up for Dame and a couple other really good players.
Well, I think you and I, and we've disagreed before on what Christian Wood really is, like how much he is worth to this franchise. And the way I'm looking at it is this year's a big year for Christian Wood one way or the other. If he blows up, he's a guy that you're going to give a max deal to anyway, and he'll probably want to stay because I don't know that a lot of teams are looking to give him the money that the Rockets would be able to give him. But if he doesn't, if he has another year like he did last year, which was a good year, don't get me wrong, I think the best thing to do, the prudent thing to do, is to let him walk and continue to build with draft picks. And is it a slower process? Sure. It's not going to be fun for a few years. The thing is, though, this organization has gone so long without having to do that. It's at some point you need to flush things out and let it happen. And I think getting rid of James was the perfect opening to flush things out and let that happen the right way. And I think any kind of commitment to an aging guy like Dame Lillard, not that he doesn't have anything left in the tank, he certainly does, but or a guy like Christian Wood, who is an iffy max player, I think that's the wrong answer for this organization.
Yeah. Well, it's the new NBA, and it's rare that you get Golden State with draft picks, and look how long that took. It's rare. Well, Miami did it with Dwayne Wade, and maybe the Cavs did it too. They were really crappy, and they got LeBron, and then they got Kyrie, so they were able to do it too. But it's pretty rare now. Usually you got to put these things together with superstars, and Dame would be a nice start, that's for sure.
We just saw what happened last night. The Milwaukee Bucks win one with a guy that they drafted, and they just filled in some spare parts around him and turned it into you've just got to find the right guy, and that's obviously easier said than done, specifically when you don't have the first pick, because that's taking one guy out of the equation completely. But if you can find the right guy, and you can find the right guy next year in the draft, suddenly you're well on your way. Then you're a free agent away from really having a team.